Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Just want to do another quick review of the latest episode of Curse of Oak Island. This is going to be for season 7, episode 21. This is make sure episode 21. So this one seemed to have a little bit more going on. I mean, nothing huge, but they were kind of all over the place, more than normal. It started off with they were talking about how they bring in a larger cannon to start digging with. Eventually, so they called in was it urban equipment to bring in a much larger can, and then they went back down to the swamp, and they were finding that there were certain areas that were. They keep saying some parts paved, some part isn't, and they think that maybe because the terrain was different and there wasn't any vegetation in certain areas, which is kind of strange, it was man-made, and they believe it may be a clay mine, which would really make a lot of sense because back, then when Oak Island was first, I guess, inhabited, or people first went there, they could use clay to build a lot of different type of items. And especially if it was just pure clay, which is what they seem to think it is, and what they were doing there, because they couldn't figure why they built a flyer, and they were, said, well, okay, maybe they bring in horses with carts to load up the clay so they could bring it off the site until they could go build items with it, whether it be houses or vessels or tunnels. I think that they might be for tunnels for digging or whatever. I don't know if that's what it's for. I guess they'll probably find if they find more small items, the more they dig. Who knows? And they noticed there was also a high level of mercury, which is kind of strange. I don't know why there'd be a high level of mercury in clay. Not that I'm a clay specialist, but I just think that's kind of strange. And then they were talking about the. So they brought in a new can, and they brought in a much larger oscillator, which was I don't even know, 110,000 pounds, which was double the one they had last season, and it's going to give them the ability to dig much larger area. At once. It's going to be attached directly to the crane, which will be good. It's going to be interesting when they start to dig. I read the woman, I forget what her name is, one who's in charge. I guess she's in charge of the equipment in the company. So, she says she's invested because they've been there a couple of times, so they really want to see what happens as well, even though they're not really financially invested. It is their equipment and they're being paid, but they would still find it interesting. They want to be there when they do find something. And then they went back to the clay area again, and they noticed that they were digging in. A lot of water was coming in. They couldn't tell if it was from a flood tunnel or if there was a lot of springs in the area. And they keep bringing up these flood tunnels, and I still find it hard to believe that there was a flood tunnel, any flood tunnels there. I think that just might be part of the myth of Oak Island. Who knows? I could be wrong, but they have yet to find anything real concrete saying this is a flood tunnel. They find a lot of water, but it is an island. It is fairly shallow, so I'd imagine if you dig down just a little bit, of course there's going to be a lot of water, whether it's from springs or from the ocean itself, because Rick, of course, tasted some of it. He said it was salty, which is kind of gross. It was all dirty. But yeah, they don't know where the water's coming from. I think they're going to try to dig further to see if they can trace back where the water's coming from. They can some way to stop it, because it's just coming in way too fast for them to be able to excavate and see what's going on below the surface, since it's coming in so fast. What else do we have? What else do they do? They went to Lot 25, which was owned by Steamer Ball, which I thought the story was kind of interesting. I guess it was a slave from South Carolina that eventually joined up with the army. Once he got up north, he joined in the army and eventually made his way to Nova Scotia, then to Oak Island, and he became one of the richest men in, not just Oak Island, but Nova Scotia. And he owned all kinds of land. I don't think that's interesting for a guy who started out as a slave and came from nothing and ended up with all this, supposedly all this money. So they don't know if he somehow got the money himself by, he was I think he said he was a cabbage farmer. If just by doing what he did to gather enough money to become rich, or if he had found some kind of a treasure, and that's why he became so rich. They don't really know. But they're doing scans of the lot 25 where his home was, to see if they could find anything underground. And they kept saying, we found anomalies here, anomaly there. And they think maybe it was underground walls, maybe there's a secret room. Again, another thing that they'll have to get another permit if they do any minor excavation, to try to find more of this. Because I think if they can find more, then they can, go back and get a permit for a much larger dig. But they don't just hand out permits, unless you can find evidence that there is something. I guess that's what it seems to be. You have to find evidence, a lot of evidence, before they let you dig further. And I think that was about it. There was, the single ball thing was kind of interesting. The clay thing in the swamp, and that's mildly interesting. I mean, I suppose if they found clay, they would wanted to use it for various things, because that's what they did back then. The part that I'm interested in is the very end of the episode. They were brought in the cans and they would oscillate when they just started to dig, and that's kind of how the episode ended. But they did show a preview of the next upcoming episode, and they were showing lots of really cool stuff they were getting out of the ground. They said one item was buried in the ground since like 1930. Again, that's a speculation, but I know obviously if it was over 100 feet underground, it would be from that long ago. It still amazes me if this stuff is that old, like how these people who were there got it underground so deep. That would just be amazing. I think it's going to wrap it up, but it was just, all these little odds and ends that they were finding. But the cool part is if they're finally going to start digging something major. So I'm really looking forward to the next episode, to what they find. And if they do find something deep, how are they going to get down? I mean, I'll see if you have a tunnel, is it going to be safe to go down there? I mean, they think they might have to dig a much larger section instead of just one straight tunnel down, but maybe they'll lead to a larger area, maybe a shaft or a tunnel to get down there, a bit easier and safer. But we're not going to know until the next episode or two. Again, who knows? They always kind of tease stuff, and it ends up not being as big of a deal as you think it's going to be. It did look interesting. It did look cool, so I'm kind of excited about that. I'm hoping that it does fall through as cool as it looked on the preview, because I want to see something happen. Because every episode is just little minor things, so maybe this will be a big step forward for them and their team. So I think that's going to do it. If you guys like this kind of video, give me a like, give me a subscribe. Until next time.